Using an event handler, the XtraGrid allows programmers to control visibility of records, either regardless of or in combination with interactive filter settings configured by the end user. Starting from a new WinForms application, I drop an XtraGrid control on the form and dock it to its parent. In form1.cs, I add a small class to store my test data. For the purpose of this example, I'm going to use a simple list as my data source. In the form constructor, I create some test data and bind it to the grid. One of the entries I create is meant to be more important than the others, and I'd like this to always appear in the list, regardless of filter settings. I run the application. All my data is shown. Now I configure a filter on the entry column for yet another entry, and as a result, only one record is still visible. Now I want to configure the grid to always show a very important entry item. I create an event handler for the custom row filter event on the grid view. In the handler, I get hold of the reference to the grid view from the sender parameter to make my code as flexible as I can. I need to add a using statement for the namespace devexpress.xtragrid.views.grid to resolve the type grid view. Next, I need to find out whether I'm looking at the record I'm interested in. The property list source row of the event args holds the index of the current entry in my data source. If the entry I'm looking at is that very important one I always want to show, I set the property visible in the event args to true. In order to stop the standard filter handling from dropping my entry after all, I also set the handled property to true. That's it. I run the application again and configure the same filter as before, but this time the very important entry stays visible together with the one selected by the filter. Event handlers are typically the way to go with the XtraGrid if something needs to be configured at runtime. Have a look through the events supported by the grid views and the grid control itself. Thanks for watching, and thank you for choosing DevExpress.